Hi. When you're first starting watercolor, you're quickly overwhelmed with all the different brushes that you see. Oh my gosh, which one do I buy? What does that one used for? I don't know what to do. Look at all those. Let's break this down into the things that you absolutely have to have. Number one, a nice flat brush. This is called a 1-inch flat brush. It's big enough that you can cover a lot of space. I'll show you a little bit more about how that one can be helpful and useful. But you also need a round brush. This is a number 12 round brush. So you've got a 1-inch flat, a round brush, and then these are called liners or riggers. Now that should cover just about everything you want to paint when you're first starting out. And you can go on, eventually you'll want to add some other brushes that are for specific things. This is called a wash brush that you would use to start out wetting a huge piece of paper, because it'd take you a lot longer with this one than it would this. But these are the ones that you could start out with. And just to kind of give you an idea about these brushes, now there's synthetic, and that's what all these brushes are here. They're all synthetic, and they are cheaper than a natural hair brush. And there are benefits of nylon versus natural hair. Natural hair is going to absorb more water and hold it, which means it would absorb more watercolor paint and hold it. But they can be pretty pricey. So when you're starting out, go with the nylon. This one's in fact, we'll use this one as an example a little bit later in our series of helpful hints to show you how you can bring this little brush back to life. So he's going to go over here. He'll be back in the picture later. But say these brushes here, with the nylon, they'll still hold water, still hold plenty of water. And you can find them all prices. This brush here came from Hobby Lobby. This one actually came from Hobby Lobby. This is one that I had ordered online from an art supply. You can pick them up a lot of different places. Okay, so now I've got this brush wet, and it goes into its shape. It holds its shape nice. I'm gonna pick up some paint here, just out of my palette, and I get a nice mark with this. A round brush, I've already got a shape here. I can use this in different ways. All the brushes, you're going to be able to use them not just like this. With different pressure, this round brush, I can get a pretty thin line. If I had a little more pressure, I get a thicker line, ease up, come down. I've got thin, thick, thin, thick. So there's lots of stuff I can do with that one. Let me get some more paint on here. I can use this on the side too and kind of have it skip along a little bit. Yeah. I'll tell you, it's not doing what I want it to do, and the reason is I've got more water than paint on that brush. So what I will do is pull some water out. Just gonna bend it down here a little bit, pick up some more paint. I'll have more paint than water on this brush, and now I can just kind of skip it along. And it's going to give me a whole lot of texture. And this is a technique that's called dry brush. And as you can see, I'm not using it, holding it typically like you would imagine that you would hold a brush. So that's something else you're going to learn through this series of little helpful hints, is you don't necessarily have to use a brush the exact way it was intended to be used. This nice big flat one that I've got, show you what that does. And again, I'm going to use this bright orange paint. Look how big this brush is. Now we're going to get a real nice thin line with this. Now I've got a lot of water. You can see it, it's coming out there. But I can also cover quite a big area with this too. And as you can see, it's getting lighter. It's kind of like a graded, what we would call a graded wash. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later too. There's so many things I want to share, but little time to do it in. But hopefully you'll see these helpful hints. They will help you understand a little bit more, and you'll want to come and take some watercolor classes. Okay, so that's kind of, you know, some of the things, some of the many things that you can do with this brush. You know, I can use it in a lot of different ways. And again, if I have a lot of paint on this brush, less water, I can use that same dry brush. Now, as you can see, I'm getting kind of pretty much a pattern with this that I don't want to do. It looks very mechanical. I want it more organic, and that can be determined by the paper you're using too, and that's something else we'll talk about a little bit later. So you've seen what the round brush and the flat brush can do, and there's more, but here's this wonderful little tiny rigger. You get so good you can sign your name with that little tiny rigger. And the reason these brushes are called riggers, as you can see, it's a very long bristle, but it's also very few in comparison in the brush itself. And you know, the ferrule's quite smaller. This, by the way, is called the ferrule. It's metal. Or should be metal, and you like it to go back on the handle a good ways and not be just short and tiny, as that's what holds everything together. Here's this bigger liner. And I keep going back and forth, I know it's saying liners and riggers, but romantically, I guess they're called riggers because they were used to make the rigging on the ships. You know, you could make these nice, long, straight lines. I like to use them for a tree. So let's use this big one, this big round one to make a tree. I'm going to stay with the orange. That's pretty showy. So, okay, there's my beginning of a tree. And this is looking a little bigger. Okay, this needs to look like it's going to hold it up. So I'll make that base a little bit bigger, a little more substantial. Now I can go in with these riggers and start making my branches. Oh, this is so fun. You'll want to just sit down and practice nothing but branches and trees and saplings. You can just have a ball with this. And even though, you know, this isn't obviously going to be framed, I'm still getting lots of practice. I'm learning how much water, how much paint to have on that brush, what's going to happen, what can I expect when I load it up. So there we go. That makes my job a whole lot easier, that little rigger brush.